Buongiorno a tutti.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everyone. The title of our meeting is Technology at the Service of Education, and I'm going to introduce our guests. Andrea Ferraresso, teacher at Romano Bruni High School in Padua. Francesca Maganzi, who is headmaster at the Scientific Secondary School in Bolzano. And Stefania Nicolli, school manager at the John Paul I Foundation, Mira, Venice. Giovanna Tarantino, school manager at Higher School Education, Enrico, Fermi, Policoro. Sara Terzoni, teacher at the Scientific Secondary School, Torricelli in Bolzano. And Margherita Rabaglia, school manager at the Institute of Higher Education, Gadda in Parma. The Italian school, since the mid-80s, is trying to integrate education and technology. This path, this journey has been accelerated by the pandemic. So we have now a piecemeal situation where there are islands of excellence at areas where the only solution was that to have remote school lessons. The image of Luciano, Florida, on the media on live tells us it is impossible to keep technology outside our work. The school that understands the importance of media in education will understand that digital media cannot be excluded from education, that we cannot cut away from our time and our space the digital technology and the application of all the different forms of information technology. Moreover, today's reality is defined by many experts as post-media society, an expression by which we certainly do not mean that media are no longer there, but they have disappeared in their visibility as tools. Indeed, in the post-media society, media have become an integral part of people's individual lives and social activities. And so, it is as if to say that we are facing a pulverization, a very strong porosity of the media that enter all individual and collective processes. This issue deserves to be considered within educational paths. The first aspect is that of sharing. A digitally augmented, enhanced didactic knows how to use the digital world to support sharing, co-construction, exchange, the sociality of knowledge, the possibility of giving a new unitary basis to the aim of knowledge. The second aspect is that of authority. Among the many characteristics that media have, there is that of being devices of authority, that is to say, devices through which we can do things with great ease, and this within a school based on doing, within a school that is conceived as a laboratory, as a cultural workshop, represents an extraordinary opportunity. Our guests today will talk about these elements, and we will now leave the floor to our first speaker.
Un amico caro mi ha detto una volta.
A dear friend told me once, Stefania, the world is divided into two categories of people, those who pose problems and those who solve them. Try and be among the latter, because those who create problems are more numerous. Well, today I will try to tell you how to educate children that can become problem solvers in the future. I am Stefania Nicolli. My grandfather was a teacher in a small village. My dad was a headmaster, so well, school is part of my DNA. I studied science of primary education and have 20 years of experience in teaching in Emilia-Romagna, Trentino Alto Adige, and Veneto, in the three regions. And I will talk about this in relation with technology. The Foundation Don Paul I is a school that is using tinkering, coding, and robotics as part of the school's curricula. It is an extracurricular hour, and we have over 2,500 hours of experience. Everything started in 2017 when we won a tender that made it possible for us to introduce these themes. In 2020, we were the first in Italy. In 2021, we were selected among the 20 schools that participated in the Festival of Innovation at school. And our experience was told by many academic magazines. We cooperated with the University of Trieste and also with other important bodies like Coderdoso. So that's who I am. This is my school, a primary and secondary school, San Domenico Savio. So that's me. But who are you? How many among you work in secondary schools? Please raise your hands. So I mean middle school and high school. Primary school, how many? Kindergarten, how many? Well, the result is what I was expecting. So, well, the technology will enable next year to make this kind of survey from remote as well. But anyway, so I'm going to talk to those who work in kindergartens from 0 to 6 years. So my school in these 5 years has created the stream STREAM in a sort of artisanal way. My intervention is based on three pillars: the unity, the shared idea, and soft skills. So this beautiful image of the Atlantic Code by Da Vinci tells us about the perspective from which we have to look at technology, one of the different languages that we need to know. And I will just start from a very practical approach, starting from the blue bot or the B bot that everybody uses in primary schools. And here you see the children doing an activity because, well, in all the schools, we talk about springtime. We can do that through robotics, a little bit like Leonardo da Vinci put together anatomy, engineering, and he put together all his different experiences in terms of anatomy, in terms of painting. So we want to do the same. Robotics, but also the use of lenses, Montessori models that are inspired by bees, and the projection of images, exploration of a beehive, observation of the hexagonal forms that make up the beehive, creation of a butterfly garden, the box of the explorers, and the algorithm that are shown from with the pictures of the children, starting from honey, from spreading honey on bread. And, well, this is a way to teach children an algorithm as an approach. And then mathematics, silent books like the one you're seeing now. Through this conceptual map, you see a clear example. We started from the T of technology, where we have the projection of images, robots, sound explorations, wind tubes. And then we have activities like, for instance, the E of engineering, so flying machines to understand what the flight is. So, well, this stream can really be a very important driver also for very small schools. Experience is at the basis of technology. Simone. Our approach promotes the discovery of children. Simone is one of our children. He has some issues in terms of attention problems, attention issues. And with these Osobot, he really developed his potential. I told him that he could use everything he had in his school bag. These robots are actually programmed through the use of colored pens, but he asked me whether he could use also a gray pencil. I thought it wouldn't work, but actually it did work. You can also program Ozobots also with pencils. So this is a discovery that Simone made. So for those who need a special language, we needed to use the technology. We needed to make it a central point in what we're doing. And this is where the Sherpa role comes about. Well, this is a word that probably is not very popular. In a way, it is a very humble word. A teacher is more a captain than a Sherpa, but I believe that the heart of a captain is a heart that is devoted to service, like a Sherpa. So we don't need to know everything. Technology is a workshop where we teachers and pupils can learn together. When we go to school, different schools, we find schools that have a lot of interesting devices and others which are not so well equipped. In some schools, there are 3D printers that is never used. Some teachers are afraid to use these devices, or maybe in one school there is just one teacher who uses these devices. So the first Sherpa is not the teacher, but rather the school manager, the head master. So they decide the kind of training the teachers will have to attend and what kind of devices should be used. My recommendation is to use low-cost devices, 150 euros for certain devices, for plotters, for 3D printers. And, I have also asked our teachers to take these devices home, to test them at home with their own children, because, as Papa said, a computer can enable us to do 200 things, but technology can do the same, but each teacher will use the devices that are most suitable for what he likes to do. We can use different programs and different devices. Each teacher can choose his or her own language. Then, third pillar, soft skills. We have a sentence that is extremely important. Before asking an adult, ask 3 children. So we are experiencing these with the groups of children, up to 20 children. We create interest areas in a different class, in a classroom. We have desks with small stations for small groups to enhance cooperation and to teach patients. And for instance, we use just one pot of paint, two brushes, and so we have 4 children. Two start painting, and the other two have to wait. So, what is the role of families in all this? We tried to involve them. We invented digital ice creams, and we invited families to take part in our lessons to know more about tinkering, robot using, and we also tried to tell families that for educational app you need to be extremely cautious. Stop motion, My Little Books, Sound Forest. These are apps that can give you a lot of different opportunities, but we do not use tablets in kindergarten. So we use technology, adapting it to the children. The elastic band, this is something that has to be encouraged. A mama told us that she didn't have an hairband, and well, she had lost her hairband, and one of her children told her, I don't know where your hairband is, but I can build one for you. So what would you do if you had to build a hairband? I thought about the face mask, the FFP2. So the bands can be actually knotted to create a hairband. And, well, that's it. So these children shouldn't waste the opportunity to use the technology in a suitable way. Because as Einstein used to say, the logics can take you from A to B, imagination can take you everywhere. Thank you.
The project that we will introduce now has been developed with a high school classroom from the high school Torricelli in Bolzano, and it's titled Maths of Contagion. We asked ourselves how to make sure that the integration of new technologies in a very simple way within a didactic project could benefit the cultural growing, the cultural development of students. So not being just a very simple answer which won't actually bring to any real benefit for the students. So from this point of view, all the projects, so from the design to the development of this project and then also the supervision of this project, considered this aspect, considered this point of view within the integration of new technologies. Namely, within the designing stage, we considered all a series of constraints which were present that somehow had to be measured and compared with the use of new technologies. I'm mainly talking about this project. I'm mainly talking about the regulations, local regulations, which had to be taken into consideration because provincial laws for the second cycle curricula of the high school in Bolzano actually required to comply within the first 2 years of high school to comply with these constraints. So that's to say a project which is called a project area. The project area is a real lab with an interdisciplinary approach where different disciplines, so in this case scientific and mathematical subjects, are actually intertwined within a pedagogical context. So this was the main constraint that we tried to comply with when developing our experience. especially with the integration of new technologies. From that point, then, we developed this kind of work that our teachers developed. So there's been a real collaboration between professors and teachers. And again, we saw how new technologies can actually support both the planning stage, the programming stage for teachers, but also the learning for students. So during this programming stage, the use of some softwares supported our teachers to understand what could have been the most useful approach of each single subject in order to achieve the goal of the project. Furthermore, we also had to define at this initial stage on which subjects our project should have been focused, and also the potential useful benefits that could have been developed by using this software that that Professor Terzoni will present. Last but not least, this kind of work, so based on a collaboration between teachers and also the interdisciplinary approach of this project, supported by the use of technological and innovative resources, which may have been very easy, very simple, but however, new technologies, this really helped to consolidate a real communitarian dimension of the know-how. That's to say that with our project, we realized that relying on new technologies, we would have been able to further spread the knowledge of technologies. So basically going beyond all the most, let's say, traditional teaching methods, which are based on rigid distinction between subjects, while here we saw that knowledge, considered as a way of communicating and sharing knowledges, contents, and methods, and know-hows, this was supported by a general sharing approach, which had been also possible thanks to the use of new technologies. So in this way, we have been able to further develop individual knowledges within the context of a common and shared project. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here with the second class of our high school. We developed this project, the Maths of Contagion, and we have been able in this way to develop with an technological approach different subjects. So what was the main aim of our project? We aimed at creating a teamwork that unfortunately was kind of lost during the years of the pandemic. So the use of the digital technologies that we relied on were used as collaboration tools. But before actually presenting this little project, I would like to leave the floor to our students that wanted to create a short video for you, to record a short video for you to be here with you. Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, there's a little technical issue. So enjoy the video. Good morning, everybody. I'm Professor Sara Terzoni. I'm a teacher of maths and physics at the high school Torricelli in Bolzano. With this video, we will introduce the interdisciplinary project called Maths of Contagion, epidemiologic model as a tool for scientific citizenship. The project has been carried out by our students with an educational approach in order to create and to teach different subjects with a technological approach. This is extremely important as a collaboration tool. The project allowed us to create a teamwork where our students became protagonists within the school context. We used digital technologies considered as collaboration tools. So they were useful tools for learning for our students. So our students will now explain more in detail the project, the activities, and all the aspects that allowed us to achieve the goal and achieve very good results. So I wish you a good video. We are the class of the high school Torricelli in Bolzano. With this short video, I would like to show you our project called Maths of Contagion, Epidemiological Models as a Tool for Scientific Citizenship. How did we organize our project? We split into groups, and for every group we had a leader that reported to our teachers the development of the work and coordinated the work within the team. This has been extremely useful for us to become independent. Here are the teams split by topics. Team 1, exponential model. Team 2, logistic model. Team 3, SIS model. Team 4, SIRS model. Team 5, model SIRS, SER, and MSER. How individuals and population can limit the behaviors and be dangerous and help to limit the infection. The project was aimed at applying different disciplines within the epidemiological world, which is extremely important due to the pandemic context in which we are living. Our professor supported us, and we also created a virtual classroom in order to rapidly share data, materials, and information. The virtual classroom allowed us to interact, communicate, and share very quickly all the data and information, to have access to information and have real-time access to this data. In this way, we've been able to collaborate with our professors as well. The final work aimed at realizing a website, an online website, thanks to a free of charge platform where we were allowed to upload videos, PDF links, and so on. So this is an example of the web page that we created, which became a display for the topics that each team developed. Thanks to this platform, we have been able to create a folder where each team had access not only to view but also to modify the contents. We understood the importance to cooperate for a common goal. We also developed some multimedia presentations and QR codes within the context of our project in order to create a final virtual poster for the works of every group. We also used a 3D multimaker printer in order to create a prototype of the virus. This was very useful also for our final presentation that we had at the end of the work of our project, and it was a wonderful moment. Within the didactical world, we believe that digital technologies are very useful for the educational purpose, and they shall always be used as a tool for learning and promoting collaboration and knowledge sharing. What do you think about it? Do you think that we have been able to infect you with teamwork and technology innovation? Thank you for your attention. So the key word of our project was mainly collaboration. And we collaborated with different kinds of tools, as you saw, like classroom, Wakelet, QR codes, virtual posters, 3D printers. But technology within our context, what was the role of technology within our context? Well, we put our students at the core of the project. So we have been able to have our students committing more and feeling a real self-esteem. So the question is, does technology improve learning? And the answer is, we don't know that, because the most important aspect is the human factor. That's to say, what can actually make the difference in all projects. Thank you for your attention.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everyone. I will talk about a project of the secondary school, a project that was carried out in the region Basilicata in Policoro. And in the school that I have been managing for the past 7 years, you will see just the final result in a very, well, simple way, because this shows you how the pupils were at the center of the project. Let's watch the video.
Buongiorno e benvenuti.
Welcome to a new edition of our meteo and weather forecast. So the weather forecasts and the temperatures are going up, winds will be reduced. What happened this year? And we will try to give you an explanation of everything that has happened in terms of weather.
Una temperatura di 38 gradi. Invece,
The 17th of January 2020 was a perfect day in terms of temperatures. The day with the highest humidity was the day where humidity reached 97%. Rainfall was at the maximum on April the 4th, 2021. The strongest wind was in December with 44 kilometers per hour. And then in terms of pressure, we had that in February 2021. Thank you for following us. And we'll come back with more news next year. You can follow us on our site and on our app.
Come avete potuto vedere, il video consta di 2 parti, l'emissione giornaliera di un bollettino medio.
So this video is made up of 2 parts, a weather forecast and then a final report that is a yearly report on the average of the weather conditions on our territory. This is a project that has been going on for 5 years.
Di formare la figura del meteorologo.
So we are trying to train these young people as meteorologists. This started with an idea, the idea to be able to forecast weather conditions in our territory with a daily forecast in real time, as you saw in the first part of the video. This is not easy, as you can imagine. Then, well, obviously technology helped us, supported us in this project, and we started from the fact that often young people were able to use technology better than we grown-ups. So we had so to speak, retroactive planning. So we started from data in order to then process and plan activities in a multidisciplinary form, like that of the weather forecast, also with a view to support to the tourist sectors, to the sailing activities, and to agriculture. The objective was quite ambitious, but we managed to achieve it because there was an identification in situ of the weather parameters in order to then adapt them to the local scale with a good level of certainty. Then we had meteor forecasts that could be user-friendly so that everyone could access these data, and therefore the children prepared an app for this. And then there's another aspect that was very popular, that is to say, the educational line that underlies this project. So these were all workshop activities, teaching and learning in classes that were turned into workshops. So we had different steps: education, the collection of data, and obviously also we had different steps, precise steps, in order to retrieve the contents of the different topics, and through the use of tools and devices such as satellites with free access for everyone. So then the students became meteorologists so that they could develop all the knowledge they needed and the skills they needed to use these tools, these devices. And this well, made it possible to actually have the reading of our weather forecast station that we have on the roof of our school, but also to be able to understand the maps on, for instance, the pressure that is identified daily. Then these meteorologists became trainers themselves, and this led to an increase in the skills of technical institutes that we believe should put together the knowledge, theoretical knowledge with practical knowledge. So we had two positive results. This kind of project actually played also a social role because the methodology and the data of Fermi were shared among the operators, the stakeholders of the sector. So there was this, so to say, social learning, and our school put together the theoretical and practical knowledge in a very effective way. Then there's something else that I would like to underline today, that is to say, this kind of projects are shared in order to build an idea of innovation that has to be shared among schools. And we do this by developing creativity, curiosity, then by creating a real structure, a system, a real system where the students can use the product they have created. And the project needs then to be structured and monitored. It needs to be reliable. It needs to be effective, and it needs to lead to a deep knowledge. So all the activities, all the technological activities carried out by our school in Policoro are carried out also through different other projects where the framework is based on an innovative methodology. The National Plan for Digital Schools gives us a few examples of that every year. And then we have also the reference to a matrix, a general national matrix that helps us set the boundaries for the application of a technology, which has to be led and supported according to the real skills of the students. We need to guide them, we need to work with them, we need to free their energy, and to show that technology should not be used in a passive way, but should rather be given a new value. And that's what we do through different projects. So what you saw is just a small part of our work. There are different projects underway at the moment, and we have worked in other backgrounds. So we have created, for instance, manuals, handbooks, as for instance those for the Festival of Innovation. But we also have other projects that start from an idea that is closely connected with the educational project of school. Thank you for your attention, and thanks to the organizers of the Innovation Festival that encourage us every year to do more and to reflect on the validity, on the importance of some means, of some tools that cannot be used solely in a creative way, but should be part of an educational framework. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Ferraresso, and I'm mainly an IT consultant who also works for the educational public. And over the last few years, I've been teaching IT at the high school Bruni in Padua. We'll talk about STEM, which means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But behind this acronym, there is something even more important. That's to say, we are talking about how to review didactic methods in order to integrate different scientific and human subjects. So STEM means putting kids in front of a problem and helping them to tackle with it with an interdisciplinary approach. The real issue is that in order to find the really STEM activities in Italy, it's not very easy. I'm a teacher, I'm working, but the most interesting and funny thing I'm doing is being part of an association that organizes Coderdojo. That's a kind of coding and robotic workshop that between 2014 and 2020 held dozens of workshops, and many of them in collaboration with the Science Hub of the Ca' Foscari University in Venice. During the first workshops, we had a lot of issues because teachers then contacted me through the social media and asking me to stop doing that, because then students went back to their classrooms and asked them to do coding with Scratch or doing robotics. And then the context changed very rapidly, and they started inviting me. And over the last few years, I traveled all around Italy, having a lot of fun in doing that. During the pandemic, the high school, Bruni in Padua, called me and asked me to teach computer science as a side subject. So being able to move within this framework, I started working on the basis on the thinking of Papert, who used to be an MIT professor, and he invented the logo programming language, and before it's been a student of Piaget, so a very open-minded person. And I started working within this frame, and I found out that there's a challenge which is called AstroPI, which is an ESA challenge that consists basically in proposing a project, developing a project, and then once you are selected, you'll have to write down a program with Python, which is a programming language, very well known in the high school, and this program is then used by the special space station. So it collects data and pictures, and all those data, once acquired, can be analyzed. So considering that the previous year I already introduced Scratch and Python with this classroom, and also other tools like Tinkercad for the 3D design or for simulated circuits, I suggested them to work and to take part in this context, which is a real STEM challenge. And they immediately learned something important, that you don't need to know how to program. Of course, it's helpful in order to take part in this kind of contests, But you also need other kind of skills and knowledges. For example, the first report shall be written in English. So students need to find a way not only to invent the experiment they want to carry out, but they also need to write it down in English. Then students are used to solve issues that are usually proposed to them, especially in a very mechanical way. In this case, they had to invent the problem themselves, and then they would have to had to solve the problem, and that's completely different. And then there was a set of constraints to be respected. So, for example, the experiment could have lasted for a maximum of 3 hours in the as a computers, and we didn't know if these 3 hours were during the night or the day, because this was not something that we could have known in advance. And then there were a series of questions. So this is a little computer, a Raspberry computer created in the UK for school and modified with sensors from the ESA in order to be implemented in the space station. So there are a series of constraints, but also of possibilities. And this is also the result of a series of questions. So students were asking themselves, for example, how high is the space station above Earth? What path does it follow? How fast does it travel? And so on and so forth. So they had to study, for example, how Google Maps is functioning, is working, and in order to understand what's the best path for their work. And they had also to understand how coordinates are working, and so on and so forth. So there was also a series of further issues. So what kind of pictures, for example, could have been captured from so high above the Earth? So students decided to take pictures of the Earth in order to assess the status of the situation of the plants on the Earth, in order to understand then what was the role of pollution on the Earth, on our planet. Of course, how can we assess the state of vegetation? It's not easy, and students searching on Google, they found out that there is the NDVI index, which allows you to calculate from images what is the status of vegetation with respect to the image, the pictures that you have. They also learned that the NASA collects all a series of data on nitrogen dioxide. And they also found out that there are open data, what open data are, and they found out that there are platforms that collect all this data provided by the universities all over the world, and they are geolocalized, so we know where they are collected, and they can be downloaded as a normal Excel spreadsheet, and then in order to be processed. Students also learned, and I taught them how to use the GitHub platform, which is used in order to spread and share either code, so IT programs, or data. And it has been used a lot during the pandemic period, when the Civil Protection Department shared all the data concerning the pandemic through this GitHub platform. But there are also private companies or open source softwares that are being developed by programmers all over the world thanks to this platform. Furthermore, working in teams on these projects, this kind of activities like the AstroPI allows students to develop the so-called soft skills, so critical thinking, ability to work in group, in team, and all a series of skills that students will have to start, I think they shall start developing since the primary school, and that are extremely helpful and useful for them. Let me just add a few remarks about coding and programming. Coding could play a very important role for the STEM, but it's not easy in school. Well, I learned to use it with a Commodore 64 when I was a child, and my motivation was to create a video game like the ones that I used to see at the bar during the 80s. So I had to program something in that way, and I discovered in that way the existence of trigonometry that was not taught when I was 11 years old. So when I started teaching at the Bruni High School, I had well clear in my mind the importance of motivation. And if you talk with students, apart from characters of the social media. One of the characters they like is Elon Musk. So working on space project makes them feel like Elon Musk. And then you have to consider the fact that children and students are working in a very fluid way, while we have in our country computer classrooms that are structured like typing labs in the 70s. Why? Students need to rely on multi-platform tools. Otherwise, at the second lesson, you will get stuck and will not be able to go ahead. And then it's important, in my opinion, to work on the development of programming language and computational thinking. So it doesn't mean that you need to think like a computer, but you need to start thinking through algorithms, so how to implement then algorithms for the programming language. So once a student learns how to recognize patterns and repetitions and so on, good part of the job is done, and technology comes later. And once you start having this approach, you will overcome gender stereotypes. So it's not true that girls don't like technology or that they're not good in programming. If you think that the coding is something that allows you to express yourself as it's been for a pen, for example, in the past. So we allow them to express themselves, and they learn how to program because they have to do something they like. So from this point of view, you can start very well with a language like Scratch or other inclusive languages, because also people struggling with this contest may immediately see the results of what they're doing. And then there are all a series of platforms that are available, like mBlock, for example, which is based on blocks like Scratch, for example, or text programming like Python B, which allows you to program robots, or microprocessor boards like the Arduino family, and so on. You can use tools like EduBlocks, allowing you to create real blocks. So moving from Scratch, which was an MIT software developed to introduce computer science, but also to show the humanistic approach of computers to children, and then moving on to a programming language like Python, which is used for as a challenge. Well, actually, my main goal is not certainly to create programmers, but to have smart citizens for the future. So the next steps would be to introduce robotics in a more detailed and accurate way. And there is a further open and free of charge platform, which is called Open Roberta, which has been introduced for the German school, but it's available also in Italy. So it's a kind of a robotics simulator working with real robots. And the most interesting thing would be to start talking about artificial intelligence, which is a topic involving all of us, and smart citizens for the future should be aware of what artificial intelligence is. Another thing I'd like to do, but it's too dangerous, and I didn't mention that even to the headmaster, it would be to create and develop some small rockets to be launched from the schoolyard. And that's something they're doing in the US. So I'm trying to do that in the safest possible way. So this is just an overview about the perspectives that you can achieve even without being a real programmer. So you basically put the human aspect before technology.
So we saw how technology is, in a way, another teacher, an additional resource in the classroom that can help and support in teaching activities. So this is something new, something that goes beyond the material that was used in the past, as Lawrence Malaguzzi used to say. Let's think about how a tablet can be useful for a child with certain learning problems. And for instance, when you can summarize a long text into a very short summary. So, well, the use of images as well is extremely important. The new technologies in the classroom make it possible to have simulations, to travel to find information from different sources and compare them, to write together with school friends, look at watch tutorial videos, and carry out dynamic activities, have experiences with the active involvement of students by using tools that they are familiar with. I believe that the interventions of our guests were extremely important because their experience is part of the Festival for Innovation in Valdobbiadene, which will take place during the first week of September. I would also like to remind you that the meeting is a unique event. It's the new enterprising result of human cooperation. We saw that this morning when we listened to our guests. There is no civilization without culture, and dialogue and beauty are their driving engine. The meeting has always been a place of culture. You can contribute to carry this great story forward. You will find stations with the red heart called Dona Ora. That's where you can donate to the volunteers wearing the red T-shirts. And this year, the Meeting Foundation is a body of the third sector. That means that when you make donations, you will have fiscal benefits in your financial statement. I would like to thank all the technicians and all of you for your attention.
Possiamo alzarci? O vado da lui a farmi togliere tutto?
Vabbè, è andata, mi sento...
La civiltà dell'amore, fratelli e sorelle, costruite senza stancarvi mai questa civiltà. Lavorate per questo, pregate per questo, soffrite per questo.